Hello, welcome back. Oh boy, tough acts to follow. James Dentley and Mo Rock, maybe soon to be Sir Mo Rock. We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully, hopefully he can pass all those tests. But something tells me he's gonna be okay. I still remember the first time I met Mo Rock, uh, Sir in training back in 2016. It's been fun watching that road. And same thing with James. It seems like I met him about the same time I met Mo. And so this has been fun over the years to kind of watch everybody grow, watch everyone excel, see the different directions. It was about 2 years ago, almost exactly, that me and James Dentley were sitting on a cruise ship talking about JD3 TV. And even then, it was already something. And now, here we are a couple years later, watching it evolve, watching it grow, and seeing what it's become now. It's exciting. It's exciting to be a part of it. It's great to get involved with things when they're up and running and wildly successful. But when is it even better to get involved with things on the ground floor, like when they were being invented, when they were being created? So I'm proud to say that I was around during some of those things. I have no formal role or anything like that, but now it is still in its infancy, and it is still a great time to get involved. So you should be asking James the question, the leaders of JD3 the question, how do I get involved? How do I give, serve, and share? How do I add value? What can I bring to the network, to the station? What can I do? That's a question that can have some very powerful answers. And if we're to believe people like Tony Robbins, if we're to believe people like him that say, the quality of our questions determine the quality of our lives, then that's the kind of questions we want to be asking ourselves. How do I get involved with the Los Angeles Tribune, right? Thing's been around since 1886. It's a print paper. It's a print magazine. There's a book club. There's books being put out. There's events, broadcasts being put on. Same type of thing. How do I get involved? Mo, Ava, one of the leaders, how do I get involved in the Los Angeles Tribune? If you get nothing out of today other than the organizations that are growing and that there are opportunities for you to get involved with them, you're going to be okay. Okay. You're going to be okay. So, think about that. What do you have of value? And yes, I know you have something of value. You have multiple ways to add value. But if you had something, what would it best be for these different types of media? Because we are in a world of ever-changing media. And I want to kind of demystify media a little bit for you, because people don't really, understand anymore being on television. Being on television is almost the air quotes. My kids call this the bunny ears. Okay. Being on television. Oh, I can't believe I just did that. So being on television, like, what does it really mean nowadays? Does it really mean being on TV? And who really even has a true TV anymore? There's actually something called, and I think you guys all know this, but I'm not going to assume anything, a smart TV. You got a dumb TV or do you got a smart TV? Hopefully you have a smart TV. I'm guessing if you've bought a TV anytime in the last, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, your TV is considered smart, which basically means your TV operates more like a computer, right? It's streaming things online. It's not plugged into the wall per se. It's streaming things online. And it's important to understand this. Why? Because media has changed. Television has changed. Network has changed. So let me walk you through that. Here's a chance to take notes. If you really want to understand television, you want to understand production, you want to understand what it means to be on various networks. And it used to be better to be on a certain kind of thing. And now that's become a little bit irrelevant, right? Now it's better to be on certain kinds of other kinds of things, other kinds of platforms. And I'm being generic for a reason here, because in a second, I'm going to give you some definitions. I'm going to break down what the top talent agencies are looking for: CAA, UTA, it's United Talent Agency. I'm going to break down what some of these places are looking for, and I'm going to break down what it means to be on, some of these networks. What does it mean to be syndicated? What does that mean, right? What kind of networks have the most eyeballs? What does sponsorships or advertisers have to do anything? How do you get product placement? Is that even a thing? Could that even be a thing for you, right? What's the difference between news or a docuseries or a documentary, right? Have you ever wondered any of that before? I'm sure there's a lot of people out there just kind of failing forward, and that's okay too. But what if you knew? Like, what if you knew for certainty what it really meant to have a show or to be on a network, or what it meant to understand what a network is nowadays or what a station is nowadays? Okay. When you understand those, a whole new world is going to open up for you. Okay. So I want to give you that vocabulary so you can have really intelligent conversations with the Mo Rocks of the world, with the James Dentleys of the world. I want to give that to you a little bit here. All right. So let's start really big. Here's what most people know. Most people understand what the big television networks are. There's 4 main networks. Okay. Those 4 main networks are CBS, Fox, ABC, and NBC. And for the longest time, those networks ruled the world. Okay. They're somewhat dinosaurs that still exist to this day. Okay. They are not extinct. They are still big. They are still powerful, but they have changed. But a lot of times when people thought about TV, being on TV, they thought about that. If you talk to the average person's mother, grandmother, the baby boomers, like that's really what they're going to understand. Below those big networks, there are cable station type networks, your TNTs, your USA Today. I'm sorry, your USA, your let's see, you got your ESPNs. You can even go down a little bit further. Learning Channel, Discovery Channel, National Geographic. Now, what do I mean by go lower, go lower? There's like a hierarchy to some of these stations, right? And the hierarchy is really built on the number of views that they get, how many viewers that they have, and how they gauge those viewers is what they call the Nielsen ratings. You've probably read articles, you've probably seen things where it says, oh, the Nielsen ratings, gave it this number, or it said, 20 million people tuned in or 30 million people tuned in. So if you want to be on a prime time network, ABC, Fox, CBS, NBC, they are telling their sponsors, hey, you're going to have 20 million viewers. You're going to have 30 million viewers, right? So those sponsors pay money expecting that number of viewers. So when a show goes on, if it only has 10 million viewers, it's probably going to get kicked off of that network. How many of you have watched a show in the past or heard of a show on these big networks and it gets canceled and you're like, this is crazy. So many people love the show. And then that show shows up on the Sci-Fi channel, or it shows up on Netflix, or it shows up on Hulu. Well, why is that? It's like, well, if it was such a great show, why didn't it just stay there? Well, the biggest networks selling to the biggest sponsors are promising 20, 30 million. So although it might be a successful show someplace else, it's not successful enough for them. So different networks, like say the Discovery Channel or Learning Channel, their average show might only have a couple million viewers. So when they're talking to their sponsors, they're saying, look, you're going to get a couple million viewers. So they're paying less money anticipating it. So if they put up a show and they're not getting a couple million viewers, they're only getting a couple 100,000 viewers, right? Then that show might get canceled. So different stations are selling different levels of sponsorships and advertisers, and they need to have certain types of viewers. So at the very top, a show that isn't very good for them, man, we only get 10 million viewers. Well, geez, that's great for, say, a Hulu, or that's great for a Sci-Fi channel, or that's great for a Discovery Channel, right? 10 million, shoot, their average show might only get 3 or 4 million. So that's great for them. So that's why you might see shows that you love go other places. Now, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because the best thing you can do is not only find your network, but find the network that wants your show. And you don't necessarily have to go to the biggest networks to grow in visibility. There are wildly successful shows. Mad Men, AMC, Breaking Bad, right? AMC. There's shows that were on FX and Hulu, like Sons of Anarchy, right? Justified. These shows made average, ordinary, everyday people very successful brand actors that have gone on to do massive feature film type roles. Now, I know that I'm mostly talking about what's called scripted content, okay? So if you kind of want to learn the lingo here, you have scripted content and non-scripted content, okay? Non-scripted content, sorry, keep the same hand going. Non-scripted content is your documentaries, it's your reality TV shows, it's your talk shows, it's your news program. Now, I know that can throw you off because you're like, David, even the reality TV shows can feel a little scripted. Well, they have formulas they follow. They might reshoot a few things, but technically that's a non-scripted department. So UTA, a very big talent agency out of Beverly Hills that we work with. Andrew Lear is one of the big agents there that we connect with. You know, he works in the non-scripted department. So UTA represents people like an Angelina Jolie, a Harrison Ford. That's on the scripted department side of things, okay? On the non-scripted part, talk shows, right? You know, people that are experts that are in reality TV, maybe hosting a show, doing documentary, news programs, that's non-scripted. So there's different rules, right? There's different sponsorships and advertisers and costs involved and ratings they're looking for and ways that they're looking for those ratings, okay? Now, there's some people that don't really follow the rating system. Netflix, Amazon, right? They're trying to come up with some other, rating systems. You know, if you saw anything about the strike, that's one of the things that the actors wanted is they wanted, better ratings because they wanted to understand how successful their show was. They wanted more independent ratings. So that way, if they're told their show didn't do really well, they understand why, right? And if their show did do really well, they want to make sure that they're asking for more. So how do we measure those things? So in the past, there wasn't a way to do this. So when you're creating your show, you're going to be saying to yourself, how big of a network can I get on? So we talked about some stuff at the very, very top, right? We talked about the 4 biggest networks out there, right? And then we talked about some of the smaller cable television networks. And at the tail end of those cable networks, you might have like public broadcasting, PBS, local cable stations. Those can still be really good. The first show I ever did was on a cable network, 2015, 2016. It was filmed at a college campus. It was on a local cable network. But being in California, that local cable network, that Verizon Fios, channel 45, that went out to almost 10 million people in several different California counties. So if you're in the right area, even though it's, way down the list on the cable network side, it could still have the potential to reach quite a few people. But you keep going all the way down. You have things all the way like, YouTube. Now, could you have a lot of views on YouTube? Absolutely. But what's the barrier to entry on YouTube? There really is no barrier to entry. Okay. There's grade schoolers putting up videos on YouTube. So that means that the quantity is high and the quality is very low. So when you're getting your show out there, you want there to be some barrier of entry, right? That puts you in a category where, okay, not just anybody can get on here. So take, for example, JD3 TV. There is quality control. Right? There is an opportunity to be on, but there's a level of production that must be reached. There's a level of quality in the production that must be reached. So would you rather be on YouTube or JD3 TV? JD3 TV, right? Would you rather be on TikTok or JD3 TV? JD3 TV. Now, I'm not here to sell JD3 TV. I don't get any money for this. I don't have any stock. I'm not an owner. I'm not a physician. I'm just giving you some examples, since we're on this network so that you can kind of understand. Now, I'm saying this or this, this or this. Well, here's the really cool thing. It doesn't have to be a choice. You can do all of these things, right? There's different networks out there, and I'm not going to sit here and name all the different networks that are out there, but there's a lot of different networks out there that are on very much a starter level, but still sophisticated. Okay. So think about that. What do you want to do? Now I'm going to keep kind of building this out because a lot of you want to know how to make money, right? You want to make money with your show. See, the nice thing about, getting on some of the quote unquote bigger networks is it might feel like more money. But here's what you need to know. If a big network picks up your show, this is going to be very important for you. Okay. Because a lot of you think you want a big network to pick up show, or even a medium network. David, I just want a medium network, right, to pick up my show. Okay. I've had that before. Here's what happens. You, the entrepreneur, people watching this, you guys are entrepreneurs. You guys are rebels. You're mavericks. Okay. You become an employee of that show. Okay. When Ryan Seacrest got brought on to be the host of the American Idol, he's not an entrepreneur. He's an employee of that show, which means he can be fired. Okay. You could be picked up to be all kinds of hosts of all kinds of shows, Fox News, Bloomberg, CNN. That might seem really cool. And in its own way, it is really cool, right? But when you do that, you become an employee of the show. You don't own the show. Okay. Ask Tucker Carlson, right? There's quite a few people that have been recently, ask Dan Rather. I mean, Dan Rather was massive. Ask all these people that have been kind of booted off their own shows. Now they can go other places and they can try to create their own networks. Okay. But they were employees of that show. Okay. And you're going to be paid like an employee. And you're going to be rewarded like an employee. And guess what? You got to show up at a certain time every day, or at least weekly. And you're going to be told what you're going to talk about on your shows. And you're going to be told the guests you're going to interview. And you're going to be told the kind of things that you should not dive deep into and should dive deep into, right? So if you truly want to own your show, it's going to be a little bit different. And sometimes might even take a little bit more money out of your pocket in the beginning. But when you own your show, you're picking the guests. You're picking the topics. You're controlling the schedule. Now, you might have to produce so many episodes within a certain length of time, but you get to go and choose when you get to do those things. People often ask me, David, you were on a syndicated radio show. That seems so good. Why did you quit it? David, you had a cable TV show. Why did you quit it? They wanted me on every day of the week. And when I had my syndicated radio show, I was on right before Dr. Laura. It was David before Dr. Laura. Right? This is 2006, 2007, 2008, syndicated show. What does syndicated mean? It means I was on multiple networks in multiple marketplaces, right? We're going to talk more about syndication in a second, but that's what it means. But here's the problem. I had to find a studio. Even if I was traveling, I had to get into a studio every single day. And I could film some episodes, but I couldn't film a whole week's worth of episodes. It was almost impossible, right? So what did that do? That limited my travel. That limited the events that I could speak at. Where did I make most of my money? Speaking at events. Where did I make most of my money? Helping clients. Where did I have most of my personal enjoyment? Traveling the world. You have a radio show where you're an employee, you can't do that. You got a TV show where you're an employee, you can't do that. Okay. Now it might sound like I'm trying to convince you to not go and do those things. I did those things. They served me a purpose. I am the former host of Entrepreneur 101. I am the former host of the cable TV show, The Hollywood Entrepreneur. Saying former, it still kind of has some power, but I wouldn't have done that forever. I didn't do that forever. I've been to Thailand 3 times in the last year. I've been to Kenya 3 times, in the last year, speaking at universities and doing service projects. I never would have been able to do that had I still be doing a California cable TV show. Okay. I would not have been able to do that if I was still doing a syndicated television show. Okay. So if you want a good, safe way to get into the marketplace, okay, then you need to own your show, and you need to find the networks that want you to own your own show and will help you own your own show and will help you make money doing it. Okay. JD3 TV is probably at the forefront of that right now. And that's why I'm on here today. Again, there's other places you could be on. There's the Best You TV, there's 360 TV. It doesn't matter, because one of the great things about the best places is they're not saying only my network. A matter of fact, the really smart places are saying, we want you on as many networks as you can. The bigger the following you get, the better it is for us. Now, there could be strategic times where you only want to have maybe a certain kind of show or a certain kind of episode on one place, where they go to that one place. You might get to the point where your sponsors are saying, hey, I'm sponsoring this. I'm on this platform. But my guess is if you're getting 10 grand, if you're getting 100 grand, if you're getting $1 million, you're going to be okay with, maybe limiting the different places that your shows are. And that's okay as well. But syndication means being on multiple platforms, multiple stations, multiple networks. Okay. That is syndication. Okay. Some shows make the most money after they become syndicated. So like the big TV shows, going back to the scripted side of things, your Seinfelds, your Frasers, your Big Bang Theory, right? Those were massive shows, but they were only on one network. Okay. They're on one network. But after the show ends, they'll make it syndicated and they'll sell it. Now, I mean, there's times you could watch I Love Lucy on maybe 6 different stations. You could watch Seinfeld on 3 different stations. You could watch the Big Bang Theory, 4 different times over the course of a day on 2 different stations. Okay. That's syndication. Okay. That's another example of syndication. So let's get even more into the money side of things. David, man, if I go and I do my show myself, great. I got all the control, but I got all the costs. Well, yes, you do need to make an investment in yourself. So there's 3 major ways to get money for your show. Okay. One could be commercials. So people are paying to advertise. People are paying to sponsor. I think you get the commercials. We're going to talk a little bit more about it later. The next way is through product placement. Okay. So product placement is what you have on your screen. You could name your studio the Mercedes Studio. Hey, we're live here from the Mercedes Studio, right? Mercedes could be your sponsor. Hey, we're live here from the Apple Studio, right? Apple could be your sponsor. I'm thinking really big right now. One of our big clients is Newcom, Jim Poole of Newcom. It could be the Newcom Studio, okay? You can name your studio. You can name the chair. You can have a segment, okay? This is the Newcom segment. One of our clients is Tyler's Coffee. We did a book for him, Tyler's Coffee. Here's Tyler right here, okay? It's the only acid-free coffee out there. Hey, we're in the Tyler's Coffee studio. This is the Tyler's Coffee book chat, right? And then you talk about that, but it's sponsored. It's advertised. Product placements, right? You could have the coffee that you're drinking on there. Hey, today, me and all the guests, we're drinking Tyler's Coffee. Again, I think you get it, but I want you to kind of play it out a little bit in your mind. Okay. And there's a certain way you go to these sponsors. The third way, for those of you taking good notes here, okay, we already talked about commercials with advertisers and sponsors. We talked about product placement. The third way is to have paid guests. That means guests pay. Now, when a lot of people hear this, they have a very old mentality of, man, who pays to be a guest? Guys, a lot of people pay to be a guest. A lot of people pay, okay? One of the biggest ESPN shows going on right now has paid guests. They're paying coaches. They're paying players, right? And it even will say in the ticker, hey, this is not a news program. They kind of make fun of it, right? Like, this is a collection of stooges. That this is an entertainment show. We're having fun. Some of the guests may or may not have been paid to attend. That show has been one of the fastest growing shows. And I'll share with you a little bit more about it and tell you the title of it and everything, and kind of tease it up a little bit here. But the point being is there's shows like that are having a lot of fun with it. Okay. And they get a lot of cool people and it is wildly entertaining. So having guests pay to be on the show. Now, we'll talk about the types of show that guests want to pay to be on, because you might want to create the kind of show that guests want to pay to be on, if that's going to be one of your streams of income. But a show should be multiple streams of income. Okay. A show should be multiple streams of income. So a little bit of a recap. We talked about the big 4, right? NBC, ABC, Fox, CBS. Then we talked about some of the lower cable networks, TNT, the USA Network, the ESPN channels, right? You can go, AMC TV, MGM, Paramount. Then you go down even further, right? You got your Discovery, you got your Learning Channel. When I say go down further, I'm talking about the networks that get the tens of millions of views, to the networks that might get 5 to 10 million views, to the networks that might get 1 to 5 million views, and all the way on down. Now, which things have I not really talked about yet? I talked about all the networks that have some type of cable TV, some kind of dish TV, cable TV type of brand. What I haven't talked about is Netflix, Hulu, Prime, right? Amazon Prime TV, those types of things, Apple TV. Those things are measured in a whole different way. Those things are measured in terms of like streaming hours, right? And that's still coming out. But it used to be that more people would watch the big four through cable TV, but that's not the way it is anymore, right? NBC now has Peacock. ABC now has, like Hulu, and they're with Disney and Disney Plus, right? They're all online. They're all going online. And here's someplace else that's blurring the lines. Most of TV that's watched nowadays, what are they watching? They're watching sports. Well, guess what? Now Amazon Prime is picking up football, right? HBO has picked up some of the sports, some of the basketball games. Paramount Plus, I'm watching Paramount Plus, and I'm watching my football on Paramount, right? So Netflix and Amazon, they've gotten so big and have so much money. When the licensing rights are coming open for sports, guess who has the money to buy them out or to outbuy the networks, right? These other places, the Amazon Primes, the Paramount Pluses, the HBOs. You're now starting to see sports other places as well. So where is the future going to? The future is going to streaming. The future is going to, away from cable, right? And again, I'm not saying that this is good. I'm not saying that this is bad. I'm giving you an education in media. I'm giving you education in television. I'm talking to you as an influencer, as an expert who wants to write books and have their own show and speak on stages. And I'm helping you kind of demystify some of these things. Roku TV is another one of those things that's been around, a long time. Depending on how you want to gauge success, they've been really successful in some ways and, not as successful in others. If you compared Roku to a Netflix or an Amazon, maybe it's a little bit different. Now, would you rather be on Roku or YouTube? Well, that depends. Do you want to be seen as a little bit more sophisticated? I would go on Roku versus YouTube, right? Now, do you have to do the or? Does it have to be or? No, go on YouTube, go on Roku, right? Broadcast things through StreamYard, do all of those things. Get on JD3 TV, build your brand, make your content so valuable that you're getting the sponsorships, you're getting the advertisers, and now you're getting to choose the networks that you're going to be on most, or that you want to put your best stuff out. Yes, there is a thing for your best stuff, right? There's plenty of people too that have shows. One of my favorite sports hosts is Colin Cowherd, right? Some of the other, shows out there, Shannon Sharp, they have a main show, TV show, but then they also have a podcast, right? It's an entirely different list of content. It's an entirely different list of sponsors, right? So they might be on TV on Fox. They might be TV on ESPN. They're making money there, but then they also have their podcast off to the side. This is the multiple streams of income. These are two different sets of sponsors and advertisers. You can just be talking all day long, going from network to network, from show to show, right? In a sense, that's another way to achieve syndication, okay? That's another way to achieve syndication. So think about that. What's the goal? Is the goal for you to just be on the biggest network possible with immediately the biggest views? Or is your goal to maintain control over your brandity, over your brand and identity, your show content, and maintain control over your calendar and your schedule, right? Which which one, if you were forced to choose. You're not always, but if you were forced to choose, okay? Think about that. What kind of show are you trying to create? Which kind of goes with what kind of lifestyle are you trying to create? Do you want to be the employee? Do you want to have a lot of deadlines? Do you want to have somebody telling you what to talk about? Or do you want to pick those types of things? Okay. Now, we're going to talk a little bit more about kind of creating that winning show, but I'm gonna kind of sneak something in here in the middle. A lot of times people, you're starting off with the best, ending with the best. I'm gonna sneak something into the middle here. Okay, so write this down. David's sneaking something in the middle here. This is the sneaky thing. This is where we've had a ton of success lately, and I'm talking about 6-figure and 7-figure success. Okay, and it's gonna sound like I'm putting something down. I'm not. What I'm doing is I'm elevating something else. So am I putting anything down? Say no. Okay. Disclaimer, I'm not putting anything down. I'm going to elevate something else. There's a lot of podcasts out there right now. There's a lot of shows out there right now that fall into the category of feel-good self-improvement shows. That's great. That's fine. We need those. That just might be what you're all about. But if you want to get a show that people will pay to be on, people want to pay to be on shows that have not just the biggest following, okay, but shows that have the most credibility. Ask yourself, is the show I'm creating have a ton of credibility? Now, I'm going to give you the most surefire way to create the most credibility in your show brand. Make it a news program. Now, I know news programs, fake news and CNN versus Fox, and I get it. There's lots of problems. There's lots of falsehoods. We can tear it apart, but still, all things being equal, what has more credibility? A talk show or a news program, right? What is most likely to be more believed, right? For you to be on like TMZ, Wendy Williams, or for you to be on Fox? For you to be on Fox and Friends, right? Or for you to be on Phil Donahue? Right. Now, it might depend. You might say, well, hey, what I talk about, that is my demographic, right? What would bring you more credibility, right? Think about the show, think about the network. So I'm giving you like some pure gold here. The people that have paid me the greatest amounts of money for publicity to be in biggest networks, they want to be a part of the Los Angeles Tribune. Why? It's a newspaper, and I hope that brand never gets ruined. I hope it never becomes anything more than news first, right? Because that's why people want to be associated with the Los Angeles Tribune. When people see that they were in it, they're like, okay, that's news. News has the feeling of journalism and truth, fact checking, right? One of the other big things we've done is NASDAQ, Bloomberg TV, Fox Business. You guys have seen me on the Jumbotrons in New York City, Times Square. You've seen me on Fox and Friends. You've seen me on Neil Cavuto, right? You've seen me on Outnumbered. You've seen me on these types of things. You've seen me on Bloomberg TV, on Newsmax, right? I'm telling you right now, the millionaires and multimillionaires, the 9-figure people that have paid me money, they do not want to pay to end up on a talk show as compared to a news program. Does that mean you shouldn't do a talk show? I never said that. You've got your place. It's going to be okay. But right now, if I told you how many talk shows there are versus how many news programs there are, talk shows, news programs, very few, right? Why not put yourself in a position where you have less competition? I know competition triggers some of you out there, okay? But you can only watch one show at a time. I guess you could watch multiple shows at a time if you're flipping back and forth or if you're just trying to listen to both. But for the most part, I think you guys know what I'm saying. You can only watch one show at a time, right? You can only do one show maybe well. And maybe you want to have a talk show and you want to have a news program. but I'm giving you some pure gold here. And this may change. Everybody might go do a news program pretty soon, right? And talk shows may go down, okay? But news shows where there is something timely is good. What a lot of people have been taught in the past is, hey, when you broadcast, make it timeless, not timely. Well, the reason why people want to make it timeless is because they wanted to sell that content. They wanted to turn it into courses. That's one business model. Okay, put that together. That's one business model. But the other business model, and the business models that are becoming more relevant today, if you want to put yourself in a position to make more money, is to have a news program where you're not creating timeless content, you're creating timely content, which means you're talking about the news of the day, the news of the week, the news of the month. It doesn't mean you have to do breaking news. It's just what's relevant right now. There's things that are going on that are relevant now that'll be relevant next week and probably next month. It doesn't have to be doom and gloom. It doesn't have to be negative. It doesn't have to be depressing. Okay. But by doing that, you're creating want. If you're going to be a talk show host that is also a talk show owner that's going to want to monetize their show, you need to make people want. And you need to ask yourself, does my show make people want to listen more? Does my show make people want to be a guest on my show? Does my show make sponsors want to be a part of it? What are you doing to create want in your show? Now, this could also pertain to your book. It could pertain to your marketing. It could pertain to your website. It could pertain to your magazine. You know, good business people make people want. You know, there's an art in making people want. You know, if I broke it down to my fundamental super talent, you know, it's words and using words to make people want, using words in a presentation to make people want something at the end, using words, you know, in a script, using words in a book, you know, making people want more of those pages, of those chapters, making people want more of that individual. A really good speaker, a really good show host is at the end, somebody says, man, I want more of them in my life. Man, I love how Oprah makes me feel. I want more Oprah in my life. How do I get more Oprah in my life? Right? I really love how James Dentley makes me feel. I really like who I am, you know, when I'm listening to him, when I'm around him. How do I get more James Dentley in my life? Right? How do I get more? That's what a good program does. That's what a good show does. That's what a good presentation does, right? So specific to TV programming, what's your show going to do to create want? Because if you are going to own the show, you are going to be ultimately responsible for the production. Now, you might bring people in to help you with that. You're going to be ultimately responsible for the guests and the content. Now, you can bring people in to help you with that, but you're ultimately responsible. You're ultimately responsible that it makes money. Right? You own the show. You made an investment in the show, right? You're paying in a sense, maybe to have it aired, but by you doing that, it's an investment that you can get a return on, right? But you're ultimately responsible for getting sponsors and advertisers. Now you can get somebody like me to help you get sponsors and advertisers like I have for other shows and other newspapers and things like that. Everything from New to the Street and Bloomberg TV to the Los Angeles Tribune to USA Today. I've generated revenue for all those places. Okay. You can have someone like me do that, but again, you're ultimately responsible for it. So what are you going to do to create want? Now, the more want you create, the easier it is for you and other people like me to sell your content, to syndicate your content. If you are one of many, then, and you're not really separating yourself from everybody else, then it's going to be hard for people to understand, why should I sponsor on your show? You know, why, you know, if you don't have a lot of viewers, if you don't have a lot of attendees, you know, why should I pay to be a guest on your show? You know, what am I going to get out of being a guest on your show? So there are ways to get outside the box in the thinking of, what can I give to the people who do product placement? What can I give to the people who are being paid guests on my show? Okay. Having certain agreements, having certain types of contracts, having certain types of metrics, having certain types of deliverables. This is the way of the world of big media, big television. You need to have this. Why? It's an emotional trigger so that when somebody engages you, it's like, okay, this person has a real show, right? With a real format, with real listeners, with a real system, right? There's trust in that. Okay. There's accountability in that. That's what people want if they're going to make an investment in that. We can help you with that. Other people can help you with that. But the more of that you have, the better off you're going to be in taking off. So let's kind of continue the TV education here a little bit, because there's a lot of semantics, right? Like, we're using syndication in a couple of different ways. We're using networks in a couple of different ways. We're using stations, channels. So let's talk about that a little bit. And I'm going to use some reference points, and I'll use Multum to kind of help you understand. ESPN is a brand. It's a network, but you got ESPN2, you got ESPN University, you got ESPN3, right? You got multiple ESPNs. You got the Fox network, right? But you have Fox, the Patriot channel. You've got Fox Business, right? I know some of you guys were just out there hanging out with some of these different, Fox people. Charles from Fox Business, okay? There's some really cool people, but those are brands. Those are networks. Underneath the networks, you have different stations or even different channels. And then on those channels, you have different programs. Okay. So you could create a station. On that station, you have different programs that run. Okay. You could create a network with different stations. And underneath those stations, you could have different programs that run. On a program, you could have different segments. Okay. So if you're thinking about your show, I'll give you another pro tip right now that I'll sneak in here in the middle. On your show, your program, okay, which is a part of a station or a network, you should have segments. You should have segments. Do not have one long show. If that's the only way you know how to do it in the beginning, fine. Do one long show. But what you really want is segments. And the biggest networks, when you're pitching a show, one of the things you actually tell them is, here are my segments. This is a 5-minute segment. This is a 7-minute segment. This is a 3-minute segment. The Dave Letterman show had his top 10 list, right? The top 10 list was amazing. The top 10 list could be very easily printed the next day in the newspaper, okay? As the internet came along, it could be emailed out. It could be put up on websites. People would tune in just for the top 10 list. I just want to hear David Letterman's top 10 list, right? Segments. When I had my show, The Hollywood Entrepreneur, one of the segments I pitched, which became one of the most popular segments of my entire show, it was highly controversial. My company was Icon Builder Media. I wrote a book called Cracking the Icon Code. I had the Icon Boot Camp at the time that I would do, right? I'd help people become an icon in their industry. One of my segments on The Hollywood Entrepreneur was icon or idiot. Icon or idiot, right? You had to choose. And if you were on my show and you were participating in the segment, you had to choose icon or idiot. And this is very controversial. This wasn't very kind, maybe. Maybe we needed to be more kind. But believe it or not, that segment helped get me the show on the cable station because it was so controversial and everybody had opinion and everybody wanted to talk about it. And you got to explain your view, but it'd be like Kim Kardashian, icon or idiot. Is it time to start loving the most hated woman alive, right? This is blurb. This is taglines. This is copy. Okay. This is copywriting. If you guys don't see that here, right? But we're writing these lines out. We've got these scripted lines. Donald Trump, right? Icon or idiot. It was 2016. He's in the presidential race. He always gave, people great things to talk about. Icon or idiot, right? Richard Simmons. We just go down. We pick out these different people. Icon or idiot. Now, I'm not asking you to okay my segment, but I'm just asking you, do you see the intelligence in it? Do you see the viewership in it? Do you see the attention that it might get? Now, same thing for you. Don't just think of a show, think of segments. Your show should be a series of segments. And those segments, you should also learn how to talk in sound bites. Okay? I'm breaking down your show into segments. And I'm also telling you not to forget the sound bites. Now, I gave you a few sound bites. What's an example of a soundbite? Today on Icon or Idiot, we're going to talk about Kim Kardashian, right? What do you think? And I'd ask the people on guess, Icon or Idiot, if you only had to say one. Now, here's an example of a soundbite. A soundbite is it time to start loving the most hated woman alive? That's a soundbite. It's a play on words. Maybe it's an alliteration, right? There's different types of soundbites. If you're really orchestrating your show, like when we produce shows, we're branding the show. We're branding your segments. What's going to be your segments, right? And then we're even giving you some sound bites. Like, let's work in this sound bite. Here's your sound bite. One of the sound bites I used to use a lot when I would go on Fox, I'd be hired on Fox. I would always find a way to work in. People typically don't know what they're capable of until they have to know what they're capable of. Well, Neil, I find that people don't know what they're capable of until they have to know what they're capable of. Right. Well, Eric, one of the things that everybody here on Fox and Friends needs to know is that people, even kids, don't know what they're capable of until they have to know what they're capable of. Right. And I can go on and I can explain that, whatever. So what are your sound bites? What are your segments? If you have a great segment or a great sound bite, it is an even better way to attract sponsors, advertisers, right? Because you can sometimes kind of tie it together, what their brand is or what they want to be known for, right? If it's just popular, it doesn't even matter. But it's a better way to do a show. If I have just a soundbite, I can take that good soundbite, Icon or Idiot, I can go post it on social media. For the whole show, go da-da-da-da. Right? Colin Cowherd, one of my favorite sports show, he has Colin's Blazing Five. Another segment he does is where Colin was right, where Colin was wrong. So he makes all these predictions and he goes through and goes, man, I was really right about this. Okay, I was really wrong about this. So it's fun. Like, you're going to hear him admit where he was wrong in his predictions. And you're going to hear him celebrate where he was right. He gets to do that. Those are segments. People aren't tuning in to just a random show. They want those segments. They can also tell how popular those segments are by how much they get searched, by how much they get viewed. If I was a TV producer of yours, I would say, man, this segment's it's 3, 4, 5 minutes. When we share this online, it by far has the most views. This needs to become a 10-minute segment. You need to bring on guests for this segment. Like this has legs. This segment over here, no one's really clicking. No one's really viewing. It's not doing much. Let's find a new segment to do. Okay. Your show should be made up of segments and sound bites. It should be made up of what? Segments and sound bites. I'm used to speaking on stage, right? That's an echo. Everybody echoes that back. So think about that. So I'm teasing you with some things. I'm throwing some things in here. Now, we have a whole training that we do on this kind of stuff, as well as a way to network with people. One of the things we do is what we call our JV event, our Top Talent JV event. And if you go to toptalentjv.com, you can sign up for free for our next event, toptalentjv.com. Sometimes we even have Mo Rock on there. Sometimes we have James Dentley on there. Several of the other speakers, part of this platform, have been on there. Ray Perez, has been on there. Great people. But it's a chance where we bring everybody together. Okay. We're going to be doing some more training on these types of things. January 29th through the 31st. You can talk about your show. You can talk about your books. Everyone gets kind of a chance to talk. We do try to limit it, so if you're coming on board, we're kind of looking to see, where you're at, what you're doing. Do you have something to offer? Do you have something to give back of value? We typically try to limit to about 50 people. These are 50 speakers, authors, experts, event producers, columnists, right? These people are looking for guests. They're looking for interviews. Sometimes they want to be on stuff. Sometimes they want to get people on their quote unquote stuff, their shows, their platforms. Okay. So January 29th to the 31st, be here before you know it. It's free. It's by invitation only. When you go there and sign up, it'll say who referred you. Just put James, just put JD3 TV, right? So I know you came from this, and then, it'll kind of get you through that. So We've been talking about, if you're just now joining us, we've been talking about different types of the big networks, different types of cable TV shows. We've been talking about everything from Roku, okay, to Amazon Prime, another one of our good friends, Dame Dee Wong, who is in a similar class as Baron James Dentley. These people, they're a part of these types of programs. Okay. So looking at the streamer here, looking at all these other things, this is great. But yeah, you can join us January 29th through the 31st. But if you're just now joining us, we're talking about these types of networks. We're talking about these types of things. And the reason why I brought up Dame, Dee Wong was, she has a program on Amazon, right? She has a program that's basically a reality TV show where speakers can go on there and compete and improve and fulfill their dreams of being on stage and on camera. And, it's a really great thing to be a part of. If you've got a way to get to Dee Wong, I would do that. I know that we're looking to participate in some various ways and bring her some talent. But there's a lot of ways to get onto television nowadays. There's a lot of ways to get onto platforms to get yourself out there. And this is really how you raise your profile, and you really become that icon in your industry. And I have an acronym I've been using for, over a decade now, and it's been changing a lot of lives and making people a lot of money. And it's the ICE acronym: influence, credibility, exposure. I typically pose it like this: would you make more money if you were more influential? Would you make more money if you had more credibility? Would you make more money if you got more exposure? So think about that. Think about that. Now ask yourself, would you get a little bit more ice in your veins, if you were on JD3 TV? Probably. So one of the things we're going to, be focusing on more, and we already are, is news programs. We have a deal with Bloomberg TV now to do documentaries, to do docuseries news programs. We have a deal in the works with JD3 TV. And again, this isn't you choose just Fox Business, just JD. Guys, you can probably be on all of them. Someday you might have to make the difficult decision of who's going to pay you the most money or where you're going to make the most money. But in the beginning, you're going to want to be on 2 or 3 of these networks. But if you're looking for a news program, if you're looking for someone to help you produce content, we are talking to people about that. We are interviewing people about that. The greater the following you have, probably the less resources you're going to need. The greater the following and potential sponsors and people you have that we can structure into deals for you, the less resources you're going to have to necessarily have. The smaller the following, the newer the brand you have, you're probably going to have to invest some resources in your program so you can own it. Okay. Or at least so you can co-own it. There are sometimes deals where me, James, I don't want to speak for other people, but I believe even Mo at certain times where we might reduce the investment you need to make and take a percentage of the deal. But again, you're going to have some skin in the game, right? We can't be out there doing this for you. If you don't want to have any skin in the game, I got a good news, bad news situation here for you. There are networks, the old style networks, the CBS, the NBC, the Fox, the ABC. You can go through the standard, talent management kind of stuff. You can write stuff, you can create stuff, you can pitch stuff. You can be one of the millions, trying to break through there. And if you can, congratulations, you won't have to come up with any money. Bad news, you're going to be an employee. They're going to own your show and they can kick you off your own show. They can replace you with somebody else at any time. Now, I'm not saying that to talk you out of that. I'm just underlining and bolding what the difference is. When somebody comes to you and says, I just got a show and I'm on CNN, say to them, congratulations, but know in the back of your mind, they just became an employee. Is that what I want? If it's not, don't follow in their footsteps, okay? There's a lot of people out there. It's so funny to me. There's a lot of people out there getting jealous about scenarios they don't even want in their life, Why are you jealous about someone who just got a show on a big network? That's not even what you want. That's not what you told me you wanted, right? And I got other people out there that are getting their own shows and they're developing the wrong kind of show and they can't figure out why somebody wants to be on there. Again, I'm not putting down the self-improvement talk show. We need people talking about mental health. We need people talking about happiness. But what if, just hear me out. What if you had a news program with a ton of credibility and one of your segments was a segment around mental health, and you brought people on to that segment and you dropped some really sexy sound bites, right? Just because the brand might be a little bit different doesn't mean what you talk about isn't what you want to talk about. It's how you wrap what it is you talk about. Okay. It's the wrapping, right? We got to wrap it up and deliver it. And that's where James was talking about putting in a Tiffany box. See, a lot of people are walking around in a brown paper bag. What I do is I put you in a Tiffany box. Okay. The same thing we want to do with your segment. We want to wrap, we want to put that segment in a Tiffany box, right? We want to create a news program. Some of the most popular news programs over the last decade are not just news programs, but they're co-hosted news programs. And they're not just co-hosted news programs, but they have multiple hosts. One of the most popular shows on Fox is The Five. One of the most other popular news programs out there is The View. Now, one of those I like a lot more than the other, but I'm not gonna identify myself that way because I respect both shows for what they created. Okay, there's nothing wrong with being polarizing in your show. The late great Rush Limbaugh never apologized or pulled any punches. Howard Stern never apologizes, pulls any punches. They have two entirely different audiences. They're very polarizing figures. You don't have to be a polarizing figure, but being a polarizing figure is just one strategy. The most important part is you need to have a strategy. Don't just say you want to have a show, right? If you really want to get a network listening, if you really want to get a producer listening, if you really want to get a film crew involved, if you really want to grow a following, know that you need to say, I want a news program. I want to have these 4 or 5 segments. I'm going to monetize the show by having these type of paid guests and these type of product placements and these types of sponsors and commercials. Now you really got something. Moira Lavelle came to me after engaging JD3 TV and James Dentley years ago, and said, "Hey, I want to create something, but I don't want it to just be another show." And we created a different brand, right? We created a whole different way of talking about the topics that she wanted to talk about. And there's ways to wrap it. There's ways to package it. And once we started packaging that content differently, that's when things got more exciting. So think about that. Do you want a talk show and podcast that millions of people have now? Or do you want to enter into a field that is in demand? How would you like to have a program that's in demand? Okay. And I'm going to give you another example. And you might say, like, okay, David, you're kind of hammering this point home a little too much. But let me just give you one last example here. Think of the biggest people with the biggest wallets that want to spend money. They want to be attached to things that have credibility, right? They want to be on a show that has credibility. They may not even agree with the talk show host, their politics, with maybe way the network is politically aligned. But as long as it is a news program that is trying to report the news, that is going to mean the most to them. That is what they're going to go brag about. Think about this. Ask yourself this question. The show that I have now, or the show that I'm trying to create, would people brag about the show? Would they say, wow, I was just on The Hollywood Entrepreneur with David Fagan on the such and such network? Would they brag about that? Or would they probably not say anything? It's because it's not really a big deal, right? Would it mean something? Would they brag about it? 2, would it mean something for me to be on that show? Yeah, the obvious answers is, how many viewers, and everybody asks that. But go beyond viewers and go beyond listeners and go beyond subscribers. Go beyond just start with just the basics. Is this something that people want to be a part of? And remember, you want to create want. So David T. Fagan on my website, David T. Fagan, you can set up an appointment with me. We can talk about your show. Me and James Dentley, we can put together, a plan for you. He has different programs. I have different programs. We have things that we do, together. But I can tell you right now, we're looking for more programs. And it's not just JD3 TV. Everybody, guys, there are content wars going on. Content what? Wars, okay? Content battles. When you have a printed newspaper, when you have a printed magazine, only so many words are going to fit on that page. Okay, here's the latest edition here of the Los Angeles Tribune. They can't print, 500 pages. Okay, so they have to choose. They have to decide who's going to be with Mo Rock in the paper. Same thing with a 60-minute TV show. They have to choose. They only have so many segments. They've got to choose. But because they're going online, because they can house all kinds of content online, digitally, articles, digital, video, digital, they need good content and they can put up as much as they want. So in that sense, there is a content quantity war. There's a content quantity war. Say that a few times fast, right? So in order to get into that, you still have to have some quality, but they need content. JD3 TV needs quality content, but they also need a lot of it, right? They need a lot of it. So what are you going to do to play that game and to get into that game? Okay. Now, I don't know if people have had questions. I've been told at different times people have had questions. I'll answer some of them if you guys do have questions. I have a lot more to share with you here, but this is a good point just to say that if you guys have questions, I will do my best to answer some of them. I want to get through some other things as well, but if you have some, I will answer them. If you want to set up a time, to talk with me, you can go to davidtfagan.com. My Calendly link's on there. It's only a 15-minute slot. We're not going to spend a lot of time. We're going to get to the bottom line pretty quickly, if we think there's something there. And again, what me and James are looking for, even the Mo Rocks that we're looking for, is people that can create quality content so that we can kind of, play strong in the content battles and content wars out there. And, we all want that, right? We just put out this Guerrilla Education book, right? 24 different co-authors in here, Mo Rock's in here, a bunch of really, powerful people in here. Moira Lavelle, who I met through James Dentley's in here. Why do people want to be in this? Well, one of the reasons why is they're in it with really good people. Okay. Why do people want us to publish their books? Because we've published really good people. Okay. We've published people that are really successful, people that own $100 million, companies, people that are major players that are well known, in the media. So it's like guilt by association. Well, the same thing exists with JD3 TV. Same thing exists with the Los Angeles Tribune, right? We want to find and keep finding and continue to put out really good content from really great influencers, smart people, experts. So if you're one of those people, reach out and let's talk. If nothing else, come to the Top Talent JV event where you can network with some of the other players there, people in the media, people that want to be in the media, authors that want to get interviewed. You want to find people who want to be guests, but get your show in line. So there'll be such a perception of value to your show and being on your show that they will want to invest in being a part of it. Okay. It's that guilt, by association. So in kind of wrapping up some of this media education, we talked about the networks. Okay. We've talked about some of the different stations. We talked about some of the different streaming services out there. Okay. We've talked about some of the different, platforms to be on. We talked about syndication. Okay. I want to throw in one other thing that needs to be played up a little bit more, not just talk shows, but news programs. But one other category that has a massive upside that is currently not being leveraged as much as it could be. And that is a documentary or a docu-series. Okay. There is something called Bloomberg Originals, bloomberg.com/originals. We can do the same thing at JD3 TV. And again, it's not an either or option. Do both. There are places right now that are looking for documentaries with interesting people and interesting content. We're actively looking right now. And a lot of times when people do things really big for a Netflix, for an Amazon, for like Bloomberg TV, turn on your, if you turn on a cable television, there's Bloomberg TV on there. And even if you don't care about being on Bloomberg TV, because, how many people are watching TV anymore, there's still millions. To say you've been on Bloomberg TV, to say you've been on JD3 TV, to say you're a Bloomberg original, right? These are all things that elevate your status, but they're looking for that. And it's not millions of dollars. A documentary can be produced for $100,000, $150,000. What if you can get sponsors and advertisers? We've got a person right now who wrote in a really amazing book, and her uplifting story really wasn't of interest to anybody. But then we realized in her book, a big part of her book was talking about plant medicine, kind of a controversial topic, but also really heavy in the news headlines nowadays. And, there's athletes talking about it, right? There's athletes talking about, I'm going down to Costa Rica. I'm going to these places. I'm trying ayahuasca. There's very big, Jack Canfield taking, there's all these big names, and it's in the news. It's in the media. It's becoming a thing. So we took that topic that was more of a hot topic, and then we repitched to the networks, hey, not so much her story, but her story involving her journey with plant medicine and all the people that are searching out plant medicine. And then all of a sudden, retreat centers in Costa Rica saying, oh, I want to sponsor or be a part of the documentary that's going to talk about plant medicine, because maybe then they're going to come down to Costa Rica and come to my center to try this. So now all of a sudden, somebody's story, and it's a great story, but just another person's success story of overcoming, all of a sudden found an angle. All of a sudden now we found the human interest. All of a sudden now we found the angle in human interest that sponsorships could get involved with. People would pay to be a part of, because there's a way for them to financially benefit from being part of it. Now, all of a sudden, we've got this $100,000, $200,000 cost to put on this approved documentary on Bloomberg TV, being paid by sponsors that want to be attached to this. So now ask yourself, what's the story that you have that might just kind of seem like another success story, another overcoming story, another hero's journey? It's important, it's valuable, but there's a lot of them. What if inside that story there was something commercial there? What if there was something valuable there that you didn't see? What if there was something there that maybe sponsors wanted to get involved with? Maybe there's somebody else that'll foot the bill for your own documentary. Wouldn't that be exciting, right? What if that documentary wasn't just, created, but what if you had a red carpet release at a theater? How fun would that be? How much attention would that garner? I love books. We do more books than anything else. But I'll tell you what, there's a difference between being a published author and having a book launch party and having a red carpet theatrical release to your documentary, right? That's being, shown in 3 parts on Bloomberg TV over the course of 3 weeks, 30 minutes every single time. Now, I'm saying all this to get your wheels turning. Are your wheels turning? Are you thinking about your story? Are you thinking about the commercial sides of it? Do you see value in working with, producers or talent managers that might be able to look at that and pull that out of you and restructure it in a way that might pay for itself? If so, you're going to want to talk to James. If so, you're going to want to talk to me. You're going to want to talk to a team. Okay. And I'm going to share this with you as we're starting to go a little more into wrap up mode. There was something that was really a paradigm shift for me. It really changed everything. And that's what a paradigm shift is. A paradigm shift is when something happens that you can never think about something the same way ever again. Like you're forever changed. It's really more of like a transmutation. Okay. A transformation means you could change back. You transformed in this, but you could transform back. Transmutation is like, you can never go back. People think of the caterpillar turning into the butterfly is a transformation. It's really not. If you want to get really technical, it's a transmutation. Why? Once it's a butterfly, it can never go back to being a caterpillar. All right? It can never go back. That's what I experienced while sitting in an audience, listening to a private school, a very expensive private school principal talk about enrolling kids into the school. And this is what they did to create this life-changing experience for it. They told all the parents in the audience, that they want their kids to come to their school. They said, close your eyes, parents, right? So here I am, closing my eyes, right? I'm all in. I want what's best for my kids. I'm all in. And then this journey began. And they said to us parents, and if you have kids, you can maybe think about this as well, what impact this might have on you. But they said, think about what your child might grow up to do someday. Are they a doctor? Are they an attorney? Are they starting their own business? Are they going to create the next great fashion? Are they going to be the next great writer? Are they going to be on TV? Are they going to be on stage? Think about where they might live, what they might do, what they might accomplish, the trips they might go on. The people they're going to become, those they're going to serve, those they're going to help. And he's really going into this, really just having us picture our child's, full potential. And then he ends with this. And this was the game changer. This was the difference maker. He said, now I want you to think of your child's current education and ask yourself, does your child's current education live up to your child's full potential? Just gives me the chills right now, like thinking of it, right? It's just like, man, you're really thinking about like, okay, how is my kid being educated? What experiences are they having? And does it live up to my kid's full potential? But it changed me in another way too. And I'll share it with you right now. I want you to think about your business. I want you to think about your show. I want you to think about your book. I want you to think about your brand. I want you to think about everything you're capable of. The shows that you might be on. Picture it. Are you going to speak in front of 100 really powerful people? Are you going to speak in front of 10,000, raving fans? Are you going to have a show on YouTube? Are you going to have a show on JD3 TV? Are you going to think about the show? Think about your book. Is it a best-selling book? Is it an international best-selling book? Is it a New York Times best-selling book? Picture your business. Picture your following. Picture the people you're helping. Are you changing lives? Are you saving lives? Like, picture the face. What does that person look like? You guys all know the power of visualization. Picture that. Picture the places you're going to go to. You're going to go to Thailand. You're going to go to Kenya. You're going to go to Bangladesh. You're going to go to third world countries. You're going to give to people. Are you going to pull people out of poverty? Are you going to inspire them? How many of them? Picture yourself standing, looking out at that audience. Picture sitting across from that, that single mother that you're about to give a whole new lease on life, right? Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Does your current team, the people helping you, the people serving you, live up to your full potential? Does your current team, your current team of advisors, mentors, do they live up to your full potential? Now, some of you might say yes, but I'm guessing a lot of you, it's time for you to level up. It's time for you to get people that have actually gone where you want to go. They have the social proof. They have the success stories, right? Now, you got to do the best you can with what you have to work with, talents you have to work with, people you have to work with, resources you have to work with. But do you truly have the best that you can afford to work with? And can you afford not to work with the best? Who is on your team? At the end of this year and going into the next year, you should be going into team building mode. Do I have the right producer? Do I have the right agent? And if you're saying, David, I don't have a producer, I don't have an agent. Well, we might have identified some problems right off the bat here. Do you have a publicist? Who's the publicist? Who is your publisher? Right? Who is the agent? Who is the producer? Who is the person out there working for you? Who is the person out there pulling those ideas out there? Who's the person, finding the angles and the ways to commercialize, what you're doing, ways to monetize? Who's out there working for you to monetize your knowledge and your experiences? If you're saying no, and that obviously, okay, get somebody. If you've had a few people, that, you kind of wheeled and dealed, maybe you bartered with and you're accountability partners with, and maybe it's your spouse, and, that's all well and good. But if you're really willing to level up, why not get somebody who's really doing it? Why not get somebody who's done it before? Why not get someone who's doing it right now? Why not get someone who can give you real life examples, right? Now, that being said, you need to make yourself worthy. So let's talk dating for a second here, right? I've got some kids. I've got some teenagers. I've got some daughters in their 20s. Couple already married. One isn't. When you think of dating, you need to become the best you. A lot of times people are always thinking about the other person. If you really want to attract the best person, you need to become the best person, right? It's the same way in business. You want to attract the best networks. You want to attract the best stations. You want to attract the best producers. You want to attract the best agents, the best publicists. You need to become the best you can be. The better you, the more valuable you, the easier it is to see the value, to see the proof, the more excited people are going to want to partner with you. They're going to want to discount things for you. Notice I didn't say give you things for free. That's not the world you probably want unless you want to be an employee. Okay. You're going to need to invest in yourself. I want people that believe in themselves. When I sat in my Beverly Hills office for years and years on Wilshire, and people would come in and talk to us about publicity and publishing, they'd always be saying, do you believe in me, David? Do you believe in me? I just want you to believe in me. If you don't believe in yourself, then it really doesn't matter how much I believe in you. And I don't have a problem telling people who I believe in, but I get a little concerned when the talent needs a lot of other people to believe in them. You need to believe in yourself. You need to invest in yourself. You need to have some skin in the game. You need, to show that you're doing what it takes to be successful. You got to be the one out there taking massive amounts of action. So if you want to take massive amounts of action, davidtfagan.com. It's up there on the screen right now. Schedule a 15-minute, appointment. We do have some introductory, programs to kind of get you into, see if you qualify for. They're not for everybody. I can tell you, even for the Bloomberg documentary special, I have now submitted over 30 people. Only 4 of those people have been approved. Now, one of those people were declined, and then we just found another angle for it. And I shared that success story with you today. Some of these other people, we just might find a better angle for it. It's a process. It takes time. Okay. Do you want to just do it? Okay. Or do you want to do it right? Do you want to do it best? And this is what I want to leave you with in these last couple of minutes is good, better, best. Stop doing things that are good. Ask yourself, what's better? What's best? We have a whole checklist. We have a whole audit we can take you through. It has over 100 different points on the audit. And I believe in what I call the law of entrepreneur order. Okay. The law of entrepreneur, which just means if you do things in the best order, the odds are drastically more in your favor to be successful. Now, entrepreneurs were famous for doing things out of order and still having success. But if you want to have that success faster, if you want it to be bigger, then don't just do good things, do the better and best things. So I have people coming to me and they want to do number 67 through 70 on the list, but they haven't done number 10 through 20 on the list of things that they should do to make themselves a great brand or a great host or a great speaker, right? So learn the law of entrepreneur order. Stop doing things that are good and find, is this the best thing that I could do, right? Is the best thing to do for me to hire an assistant right now? Is the best thing for me to do to build a website right now? Is the best thing for me to do to sponsor an event right now? Is the best thing for me to do to build a TV show right now? Is the best thing for me to do to write a book right now, right? These are all things that you could do, right? Do I build the team, right? Get somebody on your side that is going to help you identify the good, better, and best things, and that will support you in the best things, and that will take you to the next level with those best things. You know, transmutate in a way that you can never go back. Okay. Transform, and even better, transmutate yourself in a way that can never go back. I'm very appreciative, James Dentley, and everybody here on the event. This has been great. Thank you, James, for having me up. I know JD3 TV is powerful now, but I know that you're also just barely, scratching the surface. I'm excited to just know you and be around it. No matter how small my role might be, I'm here cheering you on from the sidelines, my friend.
Well, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I know wherever you are, in your car, in your home, wherever you are, give this man a round of applause. Man, you even got better. You're absolutely awesome. People don't know what they're capable of until they have to know what they're capable of. Oh, that's so true.
Yeah.
Sound bites, segments, news shows. I've been getting my text messages were just blowing up, talking about that. Of course, ICE again, good, better, best, and the law of order. Man, you just absolutely incredible, man. I want to thank you. We're going to have you back doing some of those other things, man. It's time for us to come and link everything together now and take this thing to the levels that we know that we're going to go, man. I'm just happy to be a friend. I'm glad to know you, and thank you for all you've done for me personally. And ladies and gentlemen, David T. Fagan, reach out to him at davidtfagan.com and, have a consultation with him. But you want to be involved with this man because he's going to get it done right. And we are walking in lockstep together to help you become, well, you may walk in great, but you'll leave even greater. Thank you, David. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you, man. Talk to you soon.
Bless you, brother. Woo, that was good. That was good.